Hey, what's up? It's me, Jessica J. And for those of you who didn't see the last two videos, the reason I've been in bed is because I've been sick for the past 2 weeks. It's very difficult for me to make it out of the bed. And for those of you who did see the last two videos, I look a little better. If not only because a bunch of guys wrote in to talk about how ugly I looked the last couple videos. So it's like, why don't I put on a tube top? But on a serious note, I am feeling a little bit better. So I will be speaking at a semi-regular pace. Lucky for you, no need to fast forward. So, I don't know if you guys have ever sat and asked yourself, how do I never run out of things to say in a conversation? Well, you know, I did a video like this. In fact, it was like my first video when I started YouTube up officially. And, you know, watching that video again, I realized that, I more so explained like what happens in awkward silences and how to deter from those things and how to save yourself. Sorry, I'm still a little brain foggy. But today, I'm going to talk to you about these 4 things that you can always do in a conversation with a woman so that she's sitting there like, oh my God, we like don't have a lull in the conversation at all. He's like stimulating my mind and my nips so hard. So there's about 4 things you can do, and if you commit these 4 things to memory, you will absolutely never, ever find yourself sitting there, scratching your fucking balls in dead silence, wondering if she notices how fucking stupid you look right now. Because it is pretty stupid. Because we rely on you guys to lead the conversation. But I will tell you what, it doesn't matter how many times you fuck up in a conversation or how many times you experience an awkward silence. The second you save yourself with one of these 4 things is the second we women will forget about all that. Because again, it's about how you make us feel in that conversation, which is gonna dictate how we feel about you. So if you are constantly picking yourself back up after these conversation lulls, what she's gonna remember is, oh look, I've got these little pick-me-ups from him. And then she's gonna wanna pick her pussy up onto your penis thereafter. And if you know that you do have trouble leading in a conversation and you are having way too many awkward silences for your liking, don't forget to check out my Speak to Spark Arousal program, which is gonna help you keep things peppy and snappy throughout the entire conversation and get you to leading that conversation the entire way so that she eventually thinks you should lead her into Pound Town. Okay, so the first 3 things that I'm going to talk about are actually questions that you need to ask yourself in the moment when you are experiencing a bit of a lull, or when you're just sitting there thinking to yourself, like, what should I say back? In fact, no, you should always be thinking these 3 fucking questions at all fucking times in the conversation. So the first one is, what is my absolute first thought about that? So, anytime I do drills with a client, sorry, I'm running out of breath because I've been screaming at you more than I should be for my lungs to handle. So anytime I'm doing conversation drills with a client, anytime I do a boot camp, anytime I help anybody in terms of better conversing with other people, I always train them to drill into their heads, what is my very first thought about that? Because I'll tell you what, your very first thought to absolutely anything going on is the most primal thing that you could throw into the conversation. The most primal, the most unfiltered, and the most in-the-moment reaction that you could provide to a woman. And in that primal, instinctive, in-the-moment reaction, what you're doing is you're giving her something so raw and genuine that she, in turn, is going to have a raw, genuine reaction to you, which is what chemistry is, right? Chemistry is when 2 inert substances mix together to react. However, when you throw in a motherfucking rock in the water, do they react? No, they don't fucking react because, well, I don't know, because I forget that part of chemistry class. I smoked a lot of pot in those days. But you get what I'm saying. Two raw substances. So the more unfiltered you can give her, the more unfiltered she will be able to give you in return. And when you create those unfiltered, genuine, knee-jerk reactions in women, what we start to think to ourselves is, oh my God, like he just hits me at a place like deep inside. Now I want him to get deep inside my wop. So again, write this down even. This video is meant for you to take notes on. What is my very first thought about that? Whether it's the waiter coming over and there was a farting sound, or even maybe she told you she wrote a children's book in 1978. What? The more you can respond with what is my very first fucking thought about that without thinking like, oh no, is that a stupid thing to say? Is the more you'll start to see the conversation pick up and the chemistry between you. Number two is more so an engaging question. So, and it's more so in a response to something she says, which is, how can I or how can't I relate to that? So a lot of guys do have a habit of wanting to agree with women, wanting to supplicate, wanting to make sure that, oh my God, me too. Not like hashtag me too movement, but you get what I'm saying. Because you guys very much connect with one another on similarities. So if you saw some guy at a bar and he was wearing your favorite team's jersey, you'd be like, I like your jersey. And he'd be like, I like your jersey too. And then you'd both be like, oh my God, let's be best friends. So again, y'all men, y'all thrive on similarities, on mental connections. Connections on outward things, so to speak, because then you get to partake of these things together. And these partaking of things lowers your stress levels. We women, we're definitely not fucking the same way as that. So if you're sitting there and she's like, oh my God, I love eating vegan. It's like the best thing ever. If you know that you just fucking bit into a bison raw and alive yesterday, there's absolutely no sense in you being like, oh yeah, vegan's really cool. Instead, ask yourself, how can't I relate to that? I don't know, I really like cheese. Cheese is like my life, girl. I don't think we get along too well. Again, going back to your primal response, the unfiltered version of who you are. How can you relate to that? How can't you relate to that? Either way, it still forms a connection because you are engaging based on who she is. Even if you can't relate at all, you saying, oh my God, I can't relate to that. I'm the exact opposite. You're still on the same street. You may be on opposite sides of the street, but you're still on the same street, walking in the same direction. So, how can I, how can't I relate? Number three is piggybacking, a little bit off of, of number one, which is, what more do I want to know about that? A lot of times, we have a hard time saying, I know nothing about that, or even, I don't know. In fact, in a bunch of my videos, I always allude to the fact that saying, I don't know, is a very sexy thing, because nobody wants to be with a know-it-all. So to say something like, I don't know much about that, can you tell me more, is such a sexy thing for us women to hear. Why? Because we want you to give a fuck about the things that are coming out of our mouths. And if you don't know anything about it and you tell us, we'll be like, oh my God, he's like really listening and like connecting and he wants to know more about my insides. So I'm going to give him some more of my insides. I remember I was at a dinner party one time. I'm going to say there was about like 15 of us, and one woman, she is a biomedical engineer, and she's talking about like these glucose trials where like you put the XO variable into the YZ and then on a spatial radius scale. And I'm going to tell you right now, all these fucking dudes who I know personally are at the table like, oh. So I'm looking at these dudes, and again, I know these motherfuckers. I look at them and I'm like, So I finally just blurt out, do any of you know what the fuck she's even talking about? And they all start blushing like, oh god, no. Yeah. And then she's like, well, why didn't you guys ask? I'm blabbering on about this shit that I think you know stuff about, because you're all like, oh yeah, right. Oh yeah, right. Oh yeah, that thing, the glucosometer. Yeah, I'm very familiar with the glucosometer. And again, if your eyes glaze over and you lose interest and you're not focused in the moment, guess what? She is losing that feeling and that focus on you as well. What do I always say? Your feelings in that moment are contagious. Whatever you feel in that moment, we feel too. And if you feel like, oh shit, I don't know anything about that. She's losing me. Guess what? She feels the same. So again, what more do I want to know about that? And the last one, which is my staple for fucking everything I've talked about already thus far, and the pinnacle of my Speak to Spark Arousal program. It's called the PRS plus Hey. Now again, I've already talked about these unfiltered versions of yourself connecting to create chemistry. So when I say PRS, I mean a personal, relevant statement. Personal meaning something in you right now. Well, relevant meaning right now, but personal, something that's I see, I think, I feel. Something I see personally in my eyes, something I feel personally in my body, something I think personally in my big fucking fat head. Side note, they called me big head in college because I get it. My forehead and my noggin is fucking huge. But I digress. Personal, again, it's the one thing we all have in common. Is we all came here the same way, we all got here the same way. So this inadvertently will create an intrinsic and instant connection to you right now. And when I say relevant, I mean right now. The thing that, sorry, I'm spitting all over you. The thing that you share with her no matter what. So many guys ask me like, well, how do I come up with something to say? Like, what's a good excuse to talk to her? Listen, you already have a shared relationship, and that's, you're both here right now. So personal relevant statement. So personal relevant statement. I see, I think, I feel right here, right now. I feel really hot and like I'm gonna pass out right now. I'm wondering if I'm gonna pass out on camera. Now let's get to the hey portion. How about you? How about you? So it's not enough to get her to intrinsically feel that connection, but when you say how about you, what you do is you now engage her, you now lead her into connecting with you. And this is a very important part. The reason that's so important is because what you're doing is you're taking a lead and showing her that like, hey girl, you can be a part of my life. Here's your invitation. And we'll be like, oh my God, like he's like leading me into my life, into his life. Like watch me like instinctively respond. I might like want to really instinctively respond on his penis. So using these 4 things, you will never run out of motherfucking conversation. I go over all 4 of them in depth in my Speak to Spark Arousal program. And I have exercises and ways to practice so that you can get better at it and so that you can physically see women engaging with you more and you can feel that chemistry and create it ever more so with anyone you interact with from there on out. So that's the 4 things. I really hope you took good notes. I hope I wasn't as slow today as I've been these past weeks. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you guys next time.